Hello, everyone. We're here. I can't believe we are here, and episode 9 is behind us. And look who we have. We have Allie Devereaux, who wrote this magnificent episode that we are all so excited to dissect and hear about and tell us as much as you can. How are you doing, Allie?
I'm doing good. I think I'm still recovering from trying to tweet last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so Twitter savvy as some of our other cast and crew members, but Aaron gave me some tips before we started, and I was like, okay, I think I'm getting it, starting to get it at
I
least.
know. She
Yeah.
she and Ben are wonderful with their gifts. Like they put the most hilarious gifts out. There was a cute one when the soap suds and Aaron put one where there was all these big soap suds on the person's face. I was dying. I loved it. Those two they're funny.
And they're quick too. They're so quick right
Yep.
away.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And of course, Kathy, hello. You're here. How are you?
I'm doing good. Excited about last night's episode. I got so jazzed after
It
watching.
was so good. I was jumping around and tweeting. I think you saw some of my tweets. And your sister was on showing you love.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's my twin sister actually. We're
Oh.
identical twins. Yeah. She is so sweet. We would laugh because out of the two of us, it always kind of felt like, I was the evil twin because Aislinn was so friendly and so giving everyone hugs. So yeah, she's a sweetheart for sure.
I told her that I sent the link. I put the link out. So if she wanted to link in, she can watch and listen. But it'll be posted too. So anybody can see it. It gets posted on YouTube. So we have a whole bunch of people saying hello to all of us, but let's dive in. So before we get started, I have a question for you. Do you have a favorite part or favorite scene in this episode, by the way?
Yes, I
You
do.
you
And
do.
I think it's probably many people's favorite, and it's because Highland stole the show, right? It's Highland's happy birthday with little Jack, bringing the cupcake to Elizabeth, just because that's just such a sweet moment. And I really love seeing little Jack grow and seeing Elizabeth as a mom. And it's just, I just really love that scene. And Highland is just so cute. Like, I was the most starstruck to meet Highland when I finally got to meet him on set. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to talk. I'm so excited to meet him. He's such a fun little guy. And then I also did love there was so many great scenes, like
Sure.
Mountie scenes, they were just the way they were shot too, like the way when I finally got to see them, it was like I was blown away. So yeah, it was
Do
really
you,
fun.
Allie, speaking of Highland, when you're writing, do you have to consciously design the lines you write for Highland or any of the other kids based on, the words he's familiar with or.
Highland is really we're lucky sometimes, yeah, like there's considerations when you're working with kids, but Highland is really good actually at learning the lines and kind of figuring out. He's um Peters has this video of him. I don't know if he shared it. He's in the jail and he's saying,
Mhm. Yep.
and he just remembered the whole thing that Peter sent him. So that just goes to show, he's only 3, almost 4 now, but only 3 then when we were shooting it, and he pretty much got it down. There are some time constraints, obviously, we can't use him as long as we can use everybody else. So you consider that. I do remember in the production meeting when it came up and they're in the dark in the with a candle and a cupcake and a kid, and they're like, Allie, but I was like, I think it'll be so cute if it works, and it did work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It'll work. I feel like there's a cute connection. Erin is very wonderful with children. I mean, I've had the opportunity to meet her, and she was amazing to my niece. Not to make this about me, but we were at this big function, and my niece just went and tore right in, and her guard didn't even know from where she came and grabbed her leg and was hugging her and telling her, I'm famous like you're famous. And Erin just went with it. She was amazing.
Oh,
But I feel like there's a wonderful connection between Highland and Chris. They seem to really connect behind the scenes. It's so cute. It's so cute.
yeah, they're good. They're buddies in real life. They're really buddies.
They are.
And yeah, it's kind of amazing to watch the 3 of them work together because they just they work together as a unit really well, and they kind of all act off of each other. So yeah, it's really it's beautiful to see.
So, okay, so there's Tell us about how people get assigned a specific episode. How does that work?
Oh yeah, okay. So when we're in the writers' room, like when we first start out, and I started as the writer's assistant on the show.
Mhm.
So kind of, keep track of all the notes in our writers' room and our day of all the story ideas we're coming up with. Because sometimes we're there for hours, just like, talking out all the stories, especially at the beginning, trying to figure out where the story's going to go and where we want the characters to go in their arcs. And then also research as well. But then, so at the beginning, we kind of have, the beginning of the season when we first start in the room, we come in, these are some things carried over from last season, things we maybe didn't get to, things we really want to see, ways we, want the characters to grow, what worked last season, what maybe didn't work last season, and kind of talk that all out. And we start to kind of, the episodes slowly start to come together using those arcs. And then we all kind of talk the episodes out together. And then John Tinker, our showrunner, kind of, gets a sense of sort of how people are connecting to a storyline and, what other episodes they're writing or those kind of things. And then he sort of decides who would, be best to work on that episode and then assigns the episodes. And then since we block shoot, if there's another writer that's writing, so for 10, Derek wrote 10. So then Derek and I kind of went off into like our own little sort of focus group in a way to then kind of block out what 9 and 10 would be together because we're going to shoot them together. So they're sort of written at the same time. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you get 9, right?
9. Yeah. So it's a big episode. A lot happened. So when it was kind of coming out and we were, placing all the episodes and we knew that it was going to start to get really action packed towards the end, just to kind of get our stories, where we want to be, which is John is so awesome. And he was like, I think we need a little breather in the middle and we want something that's really nice and fully Hope Valley. And so that's Hope Valley Days. So we got to have that and then lead into like 9. So then they're like, okay, we're finishing up 8 and they're like, okay, Allie, you're gonna go to 9. And they're like, 9? Like 9 is a big episode. That's a big debut on this show to kind of do it. But it's also a lot of fun. And there was so much it was a great way to kind of, figure out all the storylines all together. And it was really exciting for me. So I'm thankful.
How much time, Allie, do you get from the time you found out you're doing 9 to you have to deliver a complete script? How much time passes?
So it sort of depends. Obviously, we kind of know the episodes the way they're like starting to kind of flesh out and build out earlier in the season. And then there's all sorts of different stages that we deliver. So we deliver like we're assigned it, and then we start to write like paragraphs about it. And we're in the room the whole time talking it out. So we're like, okay, I think this is what's going to happen. And then we each write like a few paragraphs about it, and then that goes to the other writers and a showrunner, and then off to Hallmark, and production, and they get notes and comes back to us, and we work it out this way. And there's all sorts of logistical things, and then we do like an outline, and that goes off to the same people. And then we do 2 like full drafts that are like just writer's drafts.
Oh, wow.
And then those go notes, etc. And then there's like a production draft. And once it kind of goes to production draft, that's like John, the showrunner, comes in and he helps with like, last minute rewrites and things that are going to be changed because like production issues. It was interesting for me because I'm the writer's assistant. So I stay with John on all his meetings and everything. So I got to learn a lot of what he does and kind of got to play with it that way as well. So anytime he was like, oh, now we have like a last minute change, or we have this idea that's going to be worked in, can you take it on? And so I would take it on and get to kind of keep working with the scene. So I got to hold on to it a little bit longer than usually we would. So yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. You said something like, well, I'm just thinking how lucky for you, because he's like a genius, John Tinker. And there you are, just like, reaping it all in.
I'm trying to be like a sponge from all our writers. Like Derek and Peter, have been on the show since like season 2. Derek's been in the writer's room since season 2. Beth came on in season 5. John has come on, and they're all incredible writers. So I'm sitting there every day that I'm with them. I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, like I'm so lucky that I'm, learning and watching and growing as a writer from them. I know that I'm a better writer because of them.
That's good. I mean, Peter was singing your praises all over the place. He was here last week and he said a few, like wonderful, you're wonderful. And then I saw some of his tweets. So he thinks highly of you, which is nice.
It is really mutual. I respect Peter so much, and I learned a lot. I got to go to set even when he was filming the last block of the season.
Mhm.
I was also able to go to set a couple days he was filming and watch him in his element as a director. And I was sitting there and I'm like, wow, not only are you an incredible writer and a creator, but you're also an incredible director. So what can't you do, Peter? Yeah, so that was pretty fun to learn.
He
And
can act too.
I know, yeah, yeah. My mom was just telling me she was like, next time you talk to Peter, tell him I was rewatching 21 Jump Street.
That's me.
And I told him, and he said, tell her I didn't know what a mullet was back then.
He rocked the mullet though.
That's what my mom
funny.
said when I told her. She was like, he should not be apologizing.
Oh no, she is right. I love your mom. Tell her we are kindred spirits.
You probably saw her on Twitter last night. She was liking a lot of tweets.
That's
She's like, I liked all the tweets because I wanted to keep Hearties trending. I was like, awesome.
That's good. And she did a good
Yeah.
job. Yay, mom.
Yeah.
I want to backtrack for just a hot second here. You said that you talk about what worked, what didn't work. How do you get that information to decide what was working and what is working? Like,
Well, there was just, there's sometimes just things that, we learn and grow. And especially with COVID, because starting in season 8, we had a lot, when we first started the season, we started in March 2020. We didn't know, what COVID was going to be. So then we were kind of working with like all the COVID protocols, and we didn't get to have as many school scenes or kid scenes
Yeah.
because we still, there's like safety concerns and trying to make sure everybody, is safe and because the kids couldn't be vaccinated as well. So there was all those concerns, but then it was really, we were missing the kids too. So trying to try and figure out what we learned from last year and bring it into this year, because we're, into year 2, we were into year 2 of COVID, which nobody expected. So
I know.
there's some of that too.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
so I like that. I like understanding like where you're coming from, you're brainstorming, all your brains are together. As a viewer, that's exciting to me because there's a lot of minds working together and you probably like play off of each other, like you said, come up with these great ideas. I'm serious. I love the episode that Peter wrote. I thought that was fantastic.
So
And
good.
yes, and I was all excited, had all the feels. And then yours comes along. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic too. There was so much in here. There's like so much to talk about. Can we talk about a little bit about what, since we already mentioned Lucas and Elizabeth, I guess we could stay in on that. How did you even come up with this idea to make it like a pajama party? Because you had to do it carefully because there's the town that knew that he's spending the night because he had to spend the night, but you have to be careful. So how'd you come up with these ideas? I loved it.
It's a tread carefully that came up in the room, and I think it was John who was saying, and I think the first thing was sort of, the word was like an indoor camp out kind of thing, because it was a bonding moment with little Jack as well, to see this, to put him in this moment, to see little Jack, and to also see that he's here with them, protecting them, because that's where it's really coming from. There's like a protection there as well. And this was like a fun way to kind of put him in that dynamic, in their like home dynamic, because a lot of this season has been watching Lucas bond with little Jack, and so this was just one step further of that. But yes, we obviously had to tread carefully because it's not like supposed to be the wrong idea or anything. It's he's there for all the right reasons.
Right, and you did a great job. That was totally conveyed. Go ahead, Kathy. What did you want to say?
I was just going to ask: is fire some kind of metaphor for Lucas and Elizabeth? Because when you think back, when they had their date, or I don't remember if it was the fake date at the library, there were candles all over the place. And right after the bridge scene, when they met up at the library, there were candles all over the place. And then yesterday, in that episode at the slumber party, there were candles all over the place. Is that just a coincidence?
I think it's a Hope Valley thing. We actually, the set deck team and the art department, who are so incredible, they always joke, they're like, Hope Valley is the town that's keeping the candle company in business. Because even Elizabeth's proposal from Jack, candles have always been a big part of Elizabeth's life. I have a phobia of fire. It's my own phobia. They've been my whole life. Like I won't even blow out my own birthday candles, kind of thing. Like
Oh,
I'm lucky I have a twin because I have a phobia of fire, and so. But I've been slowly trying to conquer that fear, you know. So I was thinking, you know, Elizabeth burned. This is my own thing. Elizabeth burned down the teacherage in her first
yes,
Yeah.
day in
yes.
Hope Valley. So maybe she's just trying to reclaim fire as like a good memory for her or something. Like she's just trying to hold on to it and put some good memories attached to it.
Right, instead of the negative. That's
Yeah.
good, Kathy. I didn't even think of that. Look at that brain of yours.
I am dying to find this one out, if you can answer it. Do any of the actors, and maybe you can only speak to the stuff you write, do any of them ad lib, or does everyone pretty much stick strictly to whatever script they're giving?
We have a lot of really talented actors, and so yeah, there are moments that they do ad lib, especially if it's like a lighter scene, like Rosemary and Lee, like when Pascal and Kevin, some of their back and forth, they do a lot of like ad lib stuff, and it's great stuff. It's always awesome to watch it. We
Yeah,
get the
they
day
can.
back, and they can just go off, and usually they'll do like a few takes, you know, where they do it in the script, and then they can go off and do their own little adding. And they've been on like everyone's been on the show now for almost 10 years, so they know the characters so well as well. So there is like some ad libbing on there, and all of it's yeah, really really fun and great. Obviously Highland also ad libs a little bit because he's
Did he do in many more with the birthday song? Was that him or was that the script?
that was not in the script. I think it was ad libbed. I don't know. I don't know if it was if Neil directed him to do that or if he came up with it himself. But yeah, no, it was not in the script. So that might have been all him.
Oh,
Um, and it's so sweet, right? Because it's so genuine. He just yeah. So you can see some of those moments there as well.
Roxanne, can I do one more and then I'll shut up for the rest of the
Yeah, well, keep talking, Kathy. We co-host,
I
okay?
suspect
I know I'm bossy, but we co-host
I
here.
suspect that Allie can't answer this question.
Oh, geez.
When you have what I think of as the show Bible, how far out do you kind of project the characters and the story arcs and all that? Or do you just go season by season as you get your renewals?
So yeah, the Bible is a document that I created when I came on the show. We didn't have one when I started because I started in season 8 with John, and so you know it was 7 seasons at that time of the show, and I was feeling, you know, like it's something I wish I had. So I went and just like devoured the show and took like really a lot of notes. Like the show Bible is over 300 pages of just storylines, and it's all stuff that has aired or is like going to air. So we go just up to you know season 9, and I update it as the episodes are locked as well, so that we know exactly what's going to be seen, because we don't want to go too far into like what was cut or anything, because it's supposed to be our like you know general guide of what the Hearties also know what has been in the show. But it's every moment of like when they talk about anything in their childhood, you know, their family members, their favorite food, their favorite book, anything, all of that, anything that's mentioned like that goes in. There's family trees, character breakdowns, episode by episode breakdowns, like photo references. And so I put it all together and compiled it and had it so it's this big kind of living document. And then as we go, so I did that in season 8, and then we came on to 9 and updated it as we went along. And so as we had scripts, each script goes in, and then it's like this is the script draft we're on, up to date. So it goes up to date to the storylines we have on the show as well, but they're categorized differently because I'm very type A about it.
I love it though. That's like amazing. I'm thinking all your little details, and you make sure that you go back and you can refer and you have them all organized. And I love this. How in the world have we never known when Elizabeth's birthday was? Have we
Yeah,
never
it's
said it?
we've never said it, and it
Yeah.
hasn't been celebrated on the show. And that was something, you know, John loves, you know, if we can celebrate an anniversary or a
Yes.
birthday or something like that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was like, well, we've never had even Elizabeth's birthday, and so we really should, you know, have a birthday for her. We're really careful that that's, you know, sort of. I think John has spoken on this before. There's a direction where we don't really mention exactly what time it is. Like we try to
Mhm.
be kind of clear, you know, that
Yeah.
it's like we get a general sense of what time of year it is, but we don't explicitly state it, you know,
Right.
unless it's Christmas. So
right.
you kind of have to give a general time of when it is. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. So her birthday's in the fall,
In
getting
the
close to
fall.
winter. I got it.
Yeah. Kind of, and we kind of established, we're going into fall. They're just in school, but they haven't celebrated any, Thanksgiving or
Not yet.
Halloween yet. So we're just kind of there in the early, just the leaves are just starting to change.
Yes. All
Yeah.
right. I'm loving it. So for me, what I loved the most about this episode was there were so many little things that you touched on. Like, I remember a few episodes before I knew we knew Bill really wanted to get the gun from Weinman and he couldn't from Walden. By the way, I love Wesley Salter. He's an amazing guy. He's been on before and he plays such a baddie and he's such a great man in
Such a
life.
sweet guy.
So nice. Yeah.
I know. So I loved how he explained the hole, made the notch on it. Can you tell us, like, where did the idea for that even come about?
I can't remember if it was Peter or John that initiated that idea,
Mhm.
but when we get into something like that, we do really try to use the history as like a creative jumping point, is kind of what we
Mhm.
say. Because we can't always, go strictly into history because we do have the way our show is with the
Yes.
history a little bit, but we always use history as like the jumping point. So when we started talking about that, one of my jobs as the writer's assistant is I get to do a lot of research for the show and of the time period. So when we were talking about the forensics and sort of how he could solve the crime and
Mhm.
kind of catch him, I started reading through case files. I had all these actual Mountie case files. You can find them. They're like scanned in from like the time period, and they're like written by hand of real Mounties.
Oh,
So I was
that's
reading some of their case
I have
files.
to look that
And
up.
I have this like a living research document as well, and so all the links and kind of cool things that I can find. I kind of send it off to all the writers saying, here's where we jumped off, and then they'll take that and they'll go with it a little bit, and then we come back in the room and we all discuss and we jump in from that way too. But yeah, it came from history, and I want to say it was Peter that kind of really jumped onto the notch in the gun, but it might have been John. The two of them are really thick as thieves when it came to that story point. They were really excited about it
yes.
from
Yes.
even earlier in the season when we got to kind of tease it leading into what would come here.
And that's what I mean. Like, I remembered that and I thought, oh, that little piece we can't just disregard. I knew something was going to come out up from that. Just like so and I'm not trying to put you on a spot or anything, but these are just my thoughts about this. I pay attention to like every tiny little detail. When we first met the character of Lucas in season 6, there was the whole he lied about speaking French when he always could speak it. And we know why, but some viewers don't pay attention, I guess. And they didn't pay attention that it was explained why he said he didn't speak French. He explained it right to Fiona. They had a conversation about it. And also Jeanette, like who she was, he explained who he was, who she was in his life. Yet people still in their minds have not paid attention to that. So I love that she came back again. And in my mind, I'm thinking she's back and we're really going to find out who she was so people could be quiet about it now. We're going to know, right?
And I thought she was super, super fun character.
Yes.
And it's a fun part of like Lucas's past, and he's
Yes.
kind of grown a little bit. And both of them were kind of on the run from Amos Dixon when he first came to Hope Valley.
Yes.
That's why he was lying, because he was trying to
Mhm.
protect her. And then we kind of get to learn what she's been up to and how she's sort of moved her life into like catching these guys now, because she was chased by them like in her earlier days when we first heard about her. So now we kind of get to see sort of that, how she's grown a little bit. I would love for us to meet her. I think it would be fun for her to come to Hope Valley, right? And kind of we
Right.
could see finally who she is. And I think she could probably put this stuff to bed,
Yes.
just kind of explain it all. So maybe that's a season 10 something we can hope for.
Oh, yes. I would love that.
And then she
So
can fall in love with Gustav, and because I'm determined, give
They both
this
speak
guy-
French.
make them a
Yes.
couple. Yeah, yeah.
Why not?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds wonderful. Now, do you have, and you don't have to tell us the details, but do you have, even though we don't have an actress to go with the character, we just have this character in our background. I know as a writer, I have profiles on my characters, right? And I know what their favorite food is, how they're going to react, what their hair color is, what their, they did when they were 5, even if they're now 39, that kind of thing. Is there like a bit of a character profile, like and you don't have to reveal it, but do you know the age of Jeanette? Do you know certain things? Like, I love how you just explained, that the reason why she became, I forget, what's the term that was used? What's her job now? She's the
contact at the Treasury, which at that time, the Treasury Department was also kind of like the Secret Service in a way. That's
yes.
what they were learning. That was some more of my research because I'm Canadian. So
Right.
learning some of the kind of American departments
Yes.
was interesting in that time as well. Yeah. So I think, we kind of all have a bit of an idea.
Mhm.
And I watched something even Chris was talking about, he has an idea of who she is. And I think that's something that's sort of fun about working as a writer on a TV show, is that it's so collaborative that
Mhm.
you kind of all come in sort of with your ideas. And that's a huge part of what happens in the writer's room. And then you just jump off of it with each other. And then we kind of form this consensus of like, this is how the story works. And you work through all the story together, and you have, 5, 6 minds starting, and then you bring it to production and directors and cast and crew, and it just builds. And it's really beautiful.
Does the team make a conscious effort to promote female empowerment? Because that is a theme that runs throughout the show, and I think it has since the very beginning. You've had women business owners
Mhm.
and politicians, with Abigail being mayor, and now Jeanette in the Treasury Department, and so forth. So traditional roles, with a teacher and housewife, but also, women business for that time period. I think that's very unique. Is that something that you guys actually conceptualized, or just it was organic? It just came out of the writing.
I think it's something that they definitely, even before I started on the show, it's something that they knew was really important. So we always talk it down, and we always make sure that there's female empowerment, and they're female-driven stories. Elizabeth is the heart, and
Yes.
so like leading, when it leads with like Elizabeth's stories, it kind of does happen organically in the way too. But it is also something that we're conscious of, for sure, and especially Beth Stewart, who is one of the writers, who's been on the show since season 5. She is always, very vocal about it. And I learned a lot from watching her as like a younger woman in the room, kind of watching how she, holds her own and speaks up. And I think that it translates then also into the show.
You know what I like about it is when you think just about season 1, and I think I've said this recently, the men died, their husbands died in a mine, right? So these women are left with their kids on their own to make things work. And they did. That was the story of them being like in a sisterhood. They supported each other, they helped each other, they did what they had to do. There was even a point where they went and worked in the mine, because if they didn't, they may have lost their home. There was just like a lot. So that's always been to me there. And when people say that that's unrealistic, there is a part about maybe being a mayor that might be unrealistic or whatever. But if you do your research, there were female Pinkertons during this time.
Yep.
There were females in these types of jobs. No one would have expected it, but there were females that fought in the Civil War, and people forget that or don't know it because it really is not out there. They didn't get the fame like the male did. So it's really there. It's just that people they don't realize it. So I teach, besides being a writing teacher, an ELA teacher, I also have a degree in history. So I've taught, social studies, history, that kind of thing. And that's always fascinating. We read a fantastic book called Behind Rebel Lines, which is about, she's actually originally from Canada and then comes down into the US, and she dresses up as a man and fights in the Civil War. And she's amazing.
I literally just wrote it down. I wrote down the title of this book.
Yes,
it sounds really interesting.
She actually is a spy even for them. She gets into costume. They think she's a man. Certain people find out that she's a woman. They think she's a man. She gets to spy and do different things. Pretty amazing story. But it's there. It's really there, even though some people think that it's not. And I love how it's always in When Calls the Heart. Every season, like Fiona coming in and being like, she's strong and she's, going to be part of the oil company. She's made
Ambitious.
Yep, ambitious. Same with Faith, learning
Yep.
how to like do this on her own. Molly trying to still figure out her life after all this time. She's still working it out, which makes me think of this. the hilarious scenes between. I love that. Why in the world did you do the washing machine? I loved it, but whose idea was that? That's amazing.
So the washing machine came, when I say really a team effort on the show, it is really a team effort on the show.
Good.
When we were, I think it was when we were shooting episode 1, maybe, the set deck team found this washing machine that was, an era washing machine. I think it was from 1917, maybe. And they were like, we have this washing machine. And John was like, we have to use that. Like, that is incredible. And so then that sparked the idea, and we already had it too. They already had this washing machine. So then we were figuring out how to, where to put it and how to fit it in. And since we have the pharmacy and soda fountain this year, it's freed up a bit of space in the mercantile.
Yes.
So we can kind of have that display now, where there didn't used to be the room, because they had all, the candy and sort of prescription stuff that now has moved into the pharmacy, which is a beautiful set. And so there's the space to do it. And then I think the crab crawl, as they called it, the way it was moving, I think that came from our first AD who had a story, and that kind of, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I think it was Bill Mizell that kind of had that idea about the crawling washing machine, and then putting, of course, Florence and Molly together. They're just like such a great dynamic duo to have them there.
Like Lucy and Ethel.
Yeah, it was like a kind of a classic comedy callback, and both of those actresses are so talented and funny. It's kind of nice to see them, especially when there's like so much more action in the story. It's kind of nice to have a few scenes that have some of that lightness too.
It was amazing. I love the whole pacing. I was like, oh my gosh. And I love, like I said, all the details and the little nods to everything and bringing it all together. And I'm like, it's so good. I can't wait to talk to you. I mean, I just loved it so much.
I have to say, I'm so excited for the episodes to come. Like, oh my gosh, because like I said, I can't remember if we were live or not yet when I said this, but we do write in blocks. So we write, kind of together. So episode 10 does sort of go, hand in hand with episode 9 storylines. You'll see continue it through. And that's written by Derek, and that's next week. And I'm so excited. It's a really fun episode. And yeah, there's just some really exciting stuff coming up. So I'm like, if you were excited by this, just wait until you see what comes next.
I know. I'm loving it. I'm going to touch on Nathan, and I know we said 20 minutes and you're just talking away. I mean, if you're okay with it, we're good too.
I'm good.
All right.
I'm so chatty.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Kathy, you and I were talking before Allie even joined us in the studio. And I love what you said about, like, not that this is a soap opera, because it's not, but you have to have some drama. And it's not like you get boring if you don't, like you think the couple that's in love, that's it. It's all going to be hearts and flowers and there's no drama. Like, what were you saying, Kathy?
There aren't any news stories. I mean, there are twists on it. There's different chemistry and all that. But, someone leaving town or reading ahead that, there's going to be some conflict and so is going to leave and there's going to be some rethinking of that's all just part of the storyline. I mean, I've been doing this for 50 years practically. And it's called dynamic tension. That's what I call it, where you have to have some conflict. It would be kind of boring if everything just went around in Skittles and unicorns. So I think the folks that are upset because they're reading ahead to what's going to happen in the next episode and the one after that, relax. The writers like Allie and the producers, they didn't spend all this time creating story and dynamics and chemistry to just blow it all up at the end of season 9. It doesn't work that way. So I'm just enjoying the ride. The conflict I find kind of exciting because it breaks up the boredom.
When we all want to see some of it, we want to see Bill and Nathan get to kind of do their job and be Mounties and investigators, and that's really fun too.
Yes.
But I will say there is a lot of really happy moments coming too, and this is just sort of if you think about it, like we're just on the road right now, but where we're going, it's just a little bit of trust, because I think you'll like where it's going. I'm as a Heartie, I'm excited to even see it, where it's for it to finally air and it to be shown, because I think you'll be really happy where we go and where we land.
And you know what's really cool? I just realized this a few episodes ago. I pride myself on knowing pretty much what's going to happen in the episode, where everything is going. You guys are keeping me on my toes in terms of who knows what, and where's the alliance here? I feel like what is it, Dwight on Office?
The Office. Yeah.
Would you like to form an alliance with me? I'm not sure what's going on or who knows what. So the final scene last night, where Lucas is all frustrated and peeved, and it's like, no, I don't know. This is, I've been framed, and Nathan making his little 2 cents, and Bill, I don't know who's being for real. I don't know if they're all three just kind of acting, or if it's really an issue, but I bet y'all be there next Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central to find out. So
yes,
you guys are doing a masterful job for different people writing different episodes and keeping everything weaved together and moving at the right pace and moving along. I kudos to all of you, to the whole writing.
I'm gonna just push that kudos right back over to John and Derek and Beth and Peter, some of the writers who have been on the show for so long. Like, they make it look easy when we're in the room, and they're like, oh, we just do this. And me as like, a junior writer, kind of learning from them, it's great, because I come in and I'm like, oh, I'm sticking on this story, and I can call Derek and we talk it out, and he already knows. That's because he's been around since season 2. So the show is what it is because of the amazing writers that have been on this show, like keeping it as great as it is. So I'm really honored to be with them and learning from them, exactly as you said, like masterfully just kind of weaving it in together. So I'm really honored to be a part of that patchwork as we go.
Oh. So let's talk about, because we did in the studio, let's talk about the wonderful. I've been waiting for Nathan to. I know he's been healing. He's been going through a lot, but I'm like, Kathy, you said last episode, the whole thing with May would propel him back in, and you were correct. And then this episode, I'm like, okay, I need him on his horse. I need him to do something. And it was so fantastic.
He went full on Rooster Cogburn.
Oh my gosh. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, it just, even like finally seeing how it turned out, the shot. I'm gonna say Neil Fernley, who was the director of this episode and next week's episode, and has been on the show for a long time. Yes. He did a great job with like the action scene because even when you're like on the script page, the way an action scene reads, you're never sure how it's gonna play out on screen. So it was. I thought it looked really cool, and I think it played well for them. And
the Kevin too. Newton is no longer traumatized by motor vehicles, so
look at them. Yeah, exactly. It's showing you that the two of them, and they're working as a team again. And so it's it's for all the people that were watching and were worried about Newton and Nathan as a duo. Now you can see them in action together, which is sort of why we need that action, to show them now being able to do that.
When you said he practiced, right, Kevin?
Oh yes. When my first day on set, they had the practice, which when they were first trying it, there was like a mechanical kind of bit of a horse. Mm-hmm. It's not like the real horse, because obviously they don't want to run the horse for every rehearsal or to be doing prop gun tricks on the horse.
Sure.
Because we use real horse actors on the show as well. So you have to be careful of that. So it's really funny because it was like, it looks like almost like a toy horse on the back of this truck. And I come in, and the crew members are trying it first, and they're riding along and practicing it with the gun twirl. which came from John, because John loves, horses and horseback riding. So he has a lot of knowledge about that. I have less knowledge about that. When I first, saw the horses on set, even I was like, oh my gosh, the horses are so big and beautiful. And it was a bit intimidating, but seeing the way they acted it out, even from the practice to how it looked, I was like, wow, just like kudos to Kevin and all of our stunts and horse team on the show. Like, just great job.
So he was spinning the rifle. Was Kevin really spinning the rifle?
He did practice, and when I first met him, when I first got to set, he was so excited about it. He even said, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to do that trick," because it's a fun new maneuver to learn, and they use the prop guns as well. So I think it kind of probably, it's more in like the Mountie feel for him. He gets to feel like a Mountie.
Yes,
a really like a bad guy catching Mountie for sure.
Right, and he was able to shoot Julius in the hand, right? And you said it wasn't really in the hand at first, right?
I think, originally it was the ear. I think, and I can't remember what draft that left. It might have been even in the paragraphs that we lost the ear, but originally it was in the ear, and it just didn't work the same as when it was in the hand. So they got him in the hand, and it still played really well. And then he was still able to drive, and it didn't look like.
Yeah, I don't want to be there when Spurlock gets out on parole, because he's going to make Amos Dixon look like an angel.
That character, he is so interesting to me. I think, just sort of, he's like there in the background, but he's a scary kind of quiet.
Yes.
So he's a really fun character. Yeah. I wouldn't want to have him standing outside my office door.
No. Not at all. We had Paul on, and Paul said that he's like, he doesn't have to say anything because it's a waste of his energy. Basically, he like knows how to get it done, kind of. I love how he creates the character himself in in his head, like his own backstory of what he has to say. And those two, Nathan and he have been like at each other quietly from the start, and and neither have had time for each other. And I just loved it, what it was. But you know what I thought was funny? We always saw him with the black gloves on, right? But when he was driving the car, he didn't have the black gloves on, because then you
had to see the
like, I love
it. You're like, why doesn't he have his gloves?
Well, didn't they show a scene? Is this in my head where he whipped them off so he could reach for his gun?
Yeah.
Or at least they showed that there was a reason he had them off. Well, that
off he drove.
Yeah.
You pay attention to the details. I love that.
He understood the assignment.
You understood the assignment. It has been like, oh my gosh, all the details. What about Lee? Poor Lee and Joseph and that whole relationship, like that was really good. I love it because it didn't take forever for that to come out. It came out right away, and now they're addressing it. And I'm thinking it's not over. Are they going to address it more about the loan?
They have a really beautiful moment that I think is coming up in 10. Like I said, there's some, kind of build and then pay off as well with the 2 episodes. And I think that that's such a good relationship. And I think it's important too with friendships. And it's something that the show has always done, where, the friends on the show don't really like to let things sit. They want to make sure that they are talking it out. And I think that is just, that's really good. Like, even, Rosemary and Elizabeth, like Rosemary can tell that something's bothering Elizabeth. They just, they know, and they know to ask and check in with your friends. And I think all those moments on the show are really part of the heart of Hope Valley, for sure.
It is. Now, Bill, and then I'm going to share some of the questions and show you some love that the viewers have over there in the comments. Unless there's something else you want to talk about, Kathy or Allie, because I'm bossy and I just take over. I'm fine. The whole thing about trying to, like, Bill's idea, and he takes out his law book and he's reading up on it. Is that a real law? What he was referencing? What kind of research did you have to do for that? Or
I think it's a combination of some laws, because we're sort of in an in-between place in Hope Valley of we can't get into like provincial law or kind of want to cover everything sort of together. So what we usually try and do is we use real laws always, and we kind of morph them. So if it's like this small town with this town, we can kind of make the laws together. So I'm not sure if it's actually officially a like if you reference like a real official law, if it was like a kind of a combo of two, but usually that's what we do whenever they reference things, or even just in the room when we're referencing them, even if it never airs or makes it there, we have it in our mind of what it is, the town laws.
Okay.
As it
All
were.
right. That makes sense. I thought it was very clever. And Bill, Bill, he's always looking out and making sure everything's okay for the town. And I love, like you said, you're getting to see, and I hope we get to see more of Bill and Nathan doing their Mountie stuff. I know that Bill is not a Mountie, and he's more like a forensic inspector. That's really what he was for the Mounties. And, he's a lawyer, judge now. People are like, why is he doing Mountie stuff? Well, Nathan was hurt, so he had to do Mountie stuff. Go ahead.
And he's still a lawman too. So it's still all about protecting the town. And they do go about it in different ways. And how and I think it's you can kind of see it even in the scene that was we saw last night, where it's like Bill is there like, I have this notch on your gun, I'm arresting you. And Spurlock takes off, and Nathan's like, I'm a Mountie. Me and Newton, we got this, and he goes off after him. So the way they kind of deal with the bad guys of town in that way kind of illustrates the way both of them kind of handle the law in town, and they always have worked in tandem, keeping Hope Valley safe.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. And of course, we end with a bit of a cliffhanger that's going to push us right into episode 10, which you said the two of you wrote together, and that's with Lucas going to jail because he's being set up. And Erin had this great behind the scenes where Jack Wagner and Kevin McGarry had the books in their hand, and they were behind like, and I have to say, I don't know if you're out there reading comments, but let me just give you some feels that are out there. There are a very small, when I say small group of disgruntled, loud, they're noisy, but it's so small, saying stuff like, I told you he was shady. And I'm like, oh, even in this episode, you can see he's not shady. Like, why don't you pay attention? Like, you're a student in my class. You know what I mean? And then there are those who love Lucas, and they're like, why would he go to jail? Because it's drama and he needs to go. So the payoff in the end is even more magnificent, is what I'm thinking. These are just my ideas here.
Well, I will say there is some payoff, and this is sort of the start of Lucas, kind of a little bit of growth for him in a way too. Good. He's learning from this, and it pushes him in a direction that I think most people are going to be really excited by.
All right,
sort of what this pushes forward. And yeah, when you go in to watch episode 10, and just say, just wait. Now we just only have 6 more days to get there. Just wait 6 more days, and then you'll get there. The next episode. Yeah. If you're sitting like, oh, I don't want to wait for him, just
it'll be worth it.
Yeah, it'll be worth it. I really think it will be worth it.
All right.
Peter just made the observation that the whole Joseph and Lee story is kind of anti-white savior syndrome, which actually occurred to me, that Joseph was like, yo, who gave you the right? Maybe I want to do this on my own. Who asked you to, march in? And so it'll be very interesting. You guys are so progressive. There was more happening in 1919 than I ever thought.
Do you know what else, though? There was also that, Allie, and you could correct me if that was wrong. There was also those sweet little innocent way he went about talking and didn't even realize it, of Cooper kind of giving his dad a check by saying about friends, my friends, our friends. And they're looking at what they're eating, and he's like, well, Lee made that and Bill made that. And, and that's why dinner was good. And it's sort of like making the wheels turn. So I'm happy to hear you said there's a really beautiful scene between the two of them in the future. So yeah.
And I think it's you're sort of both in the way that both of them are, that Lee is just always he just jumps in, he wants to jump in and help, and he's like that with anyone, but he's not quite always thinking about, maybe talking to the other friends. So that's something he's learning. Even with Hickam, he thinks I'm guiding Hickam, with giving these articles, this critiques and stuff, like this is so that he can grow. And then he's sort of confronted with the fact that, oh, like he's still my friend, and he has that moment of growth as well. So there's some of Lee, just like Lee really gets to grow as a person in those ways with the friendships that he has. So he's just going to make him even more awesome than he already is. And then there's also Joseph and Cooper, who have come from other towns, and they haven't been as accepted. We kind of heard a little bit about it. And so they've, now they're coming to learn, and they're like, okay, well, yes, like it was maybe the wrong way that we went about it, but maybe his heart was in the right place, and they mean it in this way. So there's those kind of layers as well. So, and we get to see them talk it out, which I think is important.
It is. It's beautiful, actually. I love it. I love all the little pieces because it makes you, as a viewer, think about it. Like I'm driving to work and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then something happens and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I love it. It leaves room for you to like say, you know what I mean? And then run it over in your brain and watch it 5 more times.
And then I hope that it's like, also when once we get through the season, and it's like you can go back as well, and then you watch through the season, because that's sort of fun too.
I do that. I do that all summer long just to keep the love going. Go ahead, Kathy. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, no one has mentioned the elephant in the room yet, so to speak, no pun intended. But you were mentioning, Allie, that there are some happy times coming up, and there was the preview for next week with Rosemary and Elizabeth. Is that one of the scenes that's going to make us very happy?
I will say, I can't say too much. I'll say, wait and see. But I think most of you guys are going to be really happy with where the storyline is going. Okay. There's a few things coming up that it's like you've been sitting here. You might not even be expecting it, kind of the way we go about it. But I think there's a few things that are coming that you're going to be like, oh, I've been waiting for this. And at least I hope that's what's going to come, because me as a Heartie, when we were talking about it, that's how I felt. I was like, oh, I've been hoping for this. So I hope that's how you guys feel too.
Okay. So I'm going to show some things here for you. This is Sharon. You have quite a few very much Chris McNally fans, even some of the admins. He has a fan page that we just, I think, hit over 7,000 on and not even a year old, and they're all about Chris. So they're in here asking you a question. Can you please ask her, meaning Allie, if Chris is as nice as we are told he is?
I thought they were saying he was like some kind of cold guy.
Ice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and he was really nice. I got to meet him, and I got to kind of see him also with Highland as well. So not only just really kind to me, but seeing him kind of work with Highland too, and the two buddies kind of working together was just so sweet to see. Like really, it warmed my heart. It was cold when I finally got to set, but my heart was warmed by seeing them
when they're just together, not doing a scene. Does Highland call him Chris or Buddy?
He does say Chris, and he does say Buddy. He does say Buddy sometimes. He's okay. It's really cute. He's a really fun guy. He gets bribed with trucks. I don't know if Peter told you that, but he always had these little toy kind of like Hot Wheels cars for him for when he was done the scene. So then he's always playing with little cars.
Oh, I love that. I think I remember. I think it was Highland's parents wrote something, and they said at some point. He even said, my TV dad.
Yeah.
Which is cute. Lisa says, what is Allie's background school-wise to get this experience as a writer? So can you share some of your background with us?
Yeah, sure. So I studied media first when I first graduated from high school, but all through high school, I worked at a film co-op in my town from Halifax, Nova Scotia. So I worked at the film co-op there, which was a little bit more independent based. And then I took media, like a media diploma in Toronto. But I really wanted to be a writer. So I then went to film school and took a focus in writing, and did a program at the Vancouver Film School, which brought me out to BC. So I kind of learned that way with some amazing like instructors, and they kind of helped guide me. And then after I graduated from school, I started out as a PA worked, carrying garbage cans around sets, and kind of worked my way up through like the assistant path, like producer's assistant, office assistant, into writer's assistant. So that's kind of the path I took. There's so many paths in, but that's sort of the path I took in, and every day writing as much as I could, and taking writing classes, and going to film festival like talks, any way I could absorb as much information as possible about writing. That's what I did.
Did you know who John Tinker was before you became his assistant? Did you realize who he was?
I did know who he was. When I got the email, I didn't know who the showrunner was of the show right away when they first contacted me to come in for the interview, and then they kind of explained to me, and I was like, oh my God, like John. And then I looked it up, and I'm like, is this John Tinker? And then but when I met him in the interview, we just started talking about TV and writing and the show, because when I first got the interview for the show, that's when I started watching. And I think I watched like 6 seasons in like a weekend, because I found out about it on Friday, and I watched, because then I just got really into it. Like as soon as I had started watching it, and I got really into the show, obviously. And so then we just started talking about the series and story ideas, and then like right away I could kind of feel it. I get along with John really well, and we have a really good creative back and forth. So that was. Then we kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, I really hope I get this, because I really get along with him, and I think it would be awesome to learn from him. And it was, for sure.
Yes. I know. I'm kind of jealous of you.
He's so great. Like learning from him, it's been, so awesome. Like 2 years, I'm so thankful too. And it's kind of funny actually, the story, because I got the interview like the first week of March in 2020. And I was working on another show as like their producer's assistant, and I think producer's assistant, maybe office assistant. I was working on a show already, but we had just started. And so then I got this interview, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to go. And the team was like, of course, like they knew I wanted to be a writer, and they're like, John Tinker, like, you got to go take this. But I felt really bad, because I was kind of, like leaving them in the lurch. And I had got this job, and, they kind of needed me to start right away. So I felt really bad. But I had my last day on the Friday, started in the writer's room on the Monday. And then the next day, COVID shut all productions down here. So they shut down for like months anyway. So I didn't even leave them in the lurch. By the time we were done, then we just moved virtually into our writer's room, because luckily for us, it was safe. We could, do what we do over Zoom. Obviously, it's not quite the same as being in the room, but we were able to do it. So we were super lucky. But yeah, it was COVID.
It was good. It was meant to be. It was good.
Yeah.
Good. And thank you for sharing all these personal things. We appreciate that. It makes
if you just keep me going, I'm just like, blah, 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 blah.
I'm showing you some love, and I have to go back because I took one off, put one on. But Brian is saying Allie wrote a very compelling script, and it kept me guessing.
And it did.
There's a lot to go on. It was like a lot in the episode. So I'm glad you liked it.
That's a good compliment. And Marianne, she was saying your writing of episode 9 was amazing. And I felt that too.
I credit that again to the awesome writers that I learned from, like John and Derek and Peter and Beth. Like the scripts really are like a full team effort. So just as much praise goes to them as well. Because again, I learned so much from them. So I'm going to say it's also them. Send them love as well.
And again, Gigi's saying she loves your writing. I'm just picking out things that I had just seen along the way, and I'm loving all of it. I'm just going down here. Such an awesome episode, and so much romance between them in her house at night. It's the truth. They gave us such romance, and not to be, and I'm just going to say what people are saying, like even when they're kissing, we're like, oh my gosh, it's like so steamy.
It was very romantic. Yes. Even I would, because I think I told you before we came on, my mom is a fan of the show too, and she was like, oh, it's so romantic. It's so romantic. And I was like, yeah, I think they've earned it. Like, I think, we've seen this, growth from them, and like we said, it's for the right reasons why he's there, and we're seeing him with little Jack and this growth of them together as a dynamic. So yeah, I think it's earned, and we're just going to grow from there.
We just
And
wanted
as
it.
nerve-wracking as it was, and contentious sometimes, occasionally, for seasons 6 through 8, I think we really needed that to create a realistic build to where they are right now. They didn't just dive into it, you know. I saw the chemistry there from the moment he asked her, "Are you going to interview for this job, I hope?" But you know, it took time, and she had to have her space to get over Jack, and it just, I think the
It was
timing
amazing.
was great. Execution, who knows? That's not my call. But I think the timing was wonderful, and they are right where they should be, in my opinion, for having done this dance for the last 3 years. This is the payoff. They deserve it, and we deserve
Loving
it.
it. Love
Yeah.
it, love it, love it, love it. And you
And there's
really
a little bit of romance too.
Yeah, you did such a good job with all the romance. It was just adorable. You know, the sheets and the camp out, like you said, and all the candles and the birthday cakes and they haven't said I love you, but they have shown that I love you. You know what I mean?
And everything but the
We've
words.
we've seen some moments. I know it, and I know everyone's waiting for it. So
That's all right. We're good. I got it. I'm ready. Janine Marie said, "Are there plans to tell us more about Jeanette and Lucas's background?" I think you kind of answered this question already.
and yeah, I think we have a little bit coming, but I would love to show more. Like I would love to get into it, more, even a little bit more, just because I think there's more story there that we could. I guess it kind of depends on if people want to know more too.
Right.
We'll see if people are interested in those storylines.
Which is cool because you had said, and I know I'm repeating this, you had said that because of what happened to her and because of, her husband dies and then what happened to her, this kind of propelled her into this field. And she is working from the States, right? You said you had to look that up. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All
And
right.
I think that's something that it came from John, and I've spoken about this a little bit before.
Mhm.
It's in like the world exists so much bigger. So anytime we can touch on these little moments and grow them, as we talked about them, just to keep the world growing, I think
Mhm.
that's so fun for us and hopefully for the audience too.
Right. So when we first heard about Jeanette, I remember where he says to her, "You were right. Hope Valley is a good place." And this was in season 6, to live and to be. And then when he was riding off to go help her, so they were both sort of like on the run,
On the
more or
run
less.
from Amos Dixon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And then I guess they had to separate. I guess separating was important too, because then they wouldn't be looking for the two of them together. This is just,
Safer. Yeah.
safer and whatnot.
But
Okay.
the fact that she made that comment, or that he told her, "You were right, Hope Valley is, good
Yeah.
place." That says to me that there might be a tie between Jeanette and some tie to Hope Valley. How did she know that would be a good place for him to go to? So
We never
we'll
know.
know.
Who knows? Maybe that's something we can explore in the future.
Yes.
I think there's a lot more that can come from the character.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get to meet her one day. That's my hope.
Yes. I love that idea too. How long did it take Nathan to learn the gun tricks for the shootout scene? Thanks, Allie. I think you kind of talked a little bit about that,
There
right?
were some rehearsals. I'm not sure exactly how long,
Mhm.
how long it took, but I do know that it was a process of with rehearsals and so that they were ready, and looks great, right? Though on screen. So
Very
whatever they did, it
realistic.
worked.
And we're not finished with, I don't know if you can answer. So I apologize ahead of time. If you can't answer, say you can't answer. In my mind, we're still not finished with what's happening with Walden. I mean, I know we're going to see the effects of it with Lucas. So we'll still hear his name more.
There's
And
still,
it's
there is some more to this storyline
okay.
coming up in I can't tell you too much about it, but I can say there's more coming, some more of
Okay.
a kind of background, and you'll hear a bit more about it coming up too.
Yeah.
Some more explanation. It was a lot for one episode.
Yeah. I mean, a lot went down in that. It was like crazy. Just things people were saying. That gun was like they love the gun scene, and just how wonderful you are as a writer. And one other question, which I don't even know if you um, can address it. There's some that you, Kathy, and we can address. This is cute. Allie, you look so young. You're a wonderful writer. And did John Tinker ask for your ID before hiring you?
That's funny. No, he did not. But I will say my first time on set, I had a mask on, obviously, and I had met most people over Zoom. So I was just, I got to set, and probably some of you guys know it from the Hearties family reunion, like the way it's sort of, kind of in the woods a little bit, out in the farm, on the farm. And so I kind of got to set, and I parked, and I didn't know where I was going, and I'm walking around, and I looked very lost. And they were like, finally someone comes over, and they're like, so are you with locations? Are you a PA? Like, what are you doing? You look really lost. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm the writer. I don't know where I'm going. I'm supposed to go find Neil, the director. I don't know my way. And I was just wandering around the extras holding tents because I didn't know where I was. So yeah, I guess I did look very lost and very small.
Oh, that's all right. And Kathy and I think, Kathy, you may have said that every time we meet someone in the studio, we're like, remember you said, what is it? Are you drinking or the water there, right?
Because everybody without their makeup on looks like 15 years younger than the character they play.
Yeah,
it's not just the actors looking at you. It's like, good Lord.
We need some time there.
Hope Valley. We need some of that Hope Valley water.
We do.
And that has it in the Mercantile.
There. Oh yes, bottle that right up. Not near the washing machine though.
That'll be his next invention: bottled water.
Yes. Guys, I'm always thinking up inventions for Ned.
We're hoping Ned would do a traffic signal or something. Remember we were saying put some kind of traffic light or something up, Ned.
We do have one coming, a new Ned invention. I won't tell you what
another
it is.
Ned invention?
There's a Ned invention coming on the horizon. So
all right.
I look forward to that.
All right. So I have a question from that audience, and you answer it however you can. May Sue had to go back to Chicago because she's got to go face whatever she has to face. Have we heard the end of May Sue?
I mean, I hope not. Okay. I can't really say anything about where we go. I will say I love the character, and I don't think that her storyline is done yet.
Good. So, and I love Amanda. Amanda Wong.
Great.
Oh my God. Just as a human, she's amazing. She's amazing.
She seems so nice. I wish I didn't get to meet her when I was on set because I didn't get to go every day. But I really wanted to. I was quite disappointed that the schedules didn't line up. Because I've heard that she is so great and so sweet, and such a great addition to. It feels like she should have been there all along, right?
It's the truth, and so we can't let her go. We need her for the rest of season 9 somehow, and season 10, which I just say we're getting. I just say season 10's coming.
I'm all in.
I'm all in. We're all in for season 10. Someone said, that's like a Southern, I know to you, I probably have a very thick accent, but they're saying that's like a Southern accent. I'm all in for season 10. And I'm thinking, in and 10, but it's really 10, whatever. It all sounds amazing to me. I don't care.
As long as we get a 10, that's what I want.
Yeah, me too. Yes, we all do, I think. They're all telling you, thank you, I'm all in. Yes, it's they're talking about the grown-up romance. They're just giving you some love over here. Of course, they have 1,000 questions that I'm ignoring. So if you think I'm ignoring your questions out there, I am, because there are things that we cannot answer, and you know that. Like, is this going to happen? That going to happen? Kathy and I will give our speculation, but we are not putting Allie on the spot because we hope one day Allie comes back.
I can't share. I wish I could, but I'm just saying, trust the journey of it, and hopefully you guys have fun. We only have really 3 episodes left of the season, so we're almost there.
Are you writing any more scripts before the end of the season?
Not this season. I just got 9, just the big whopper of 9 this season. But yes, the scripts that are coming, I'll say, they come from Derek and John, and they are incredible. So really exciting.
Well, 9 was magnificent. Thank you so much.
So
sharing with us tonight all this.
Yes.
Wow.
You're amazing.
Yeah. You guys will just keep me going. I'm always like, this is good to talk. Like, everyone knows I'm chatty as ever.
I know. So you gave us more than 10 minutes, like an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for having me and for chatting and for watching. And hopefully you guys enjoyed 9. And I'll just say, there's more to come, and see you guys for next week. I'm going to try and tweet better. I'm learning Twitter.
You're doing fine.
You
So
did
hopefully
great. I saw
I
your
just need to
tweet.
get faster. Because I'm looking and I'm like, it takes me so long to write like one tweet, and I'm looking and Aaron has tweeted like 12 things since then. I'm like, how do you go so fast?
Oh, it's because she has it set up and copies and pastes kinds of
She's
things.
so fast. Good.
Of course, people are saying all wonderful things about you, but I wanted you to know you did an awesome job with episode 9. I'm just showing you more love. Pam is one of the admins for the Lucas and Elizabeth fan page. It's all about
there's some big dynamic groups on Facebook, and I think that's really cool too. Yes. I'm also not very Facebook savvy, but I'm starting to see them kind of reading it.
And I am one of the admins for Rosemary and Lee's page, and I think some of my counterparts are here. I'm not sure, but they're all over here saying yay and thank you and showing you love. And I saw Chris. Here's Chris. She is one of the admins for Chris McNally's page. So we do all things Chris there, and there's all kinds of goodies. There's all kinds of admins here. All excited that you're here. All right, Miss Allie, it's probably your dinner time.
Yeah, I think I should probably jump off, but thank you guys, because if I don't go now, I'm just going to keep talking. No, so I should let you guys kind of go and do your recap, but thank you guys so much for having me, and hopefully see you guys next week on Twitter. And,
yes, you will. You're a wonderful guest, and we appreciate everything that you shared with us. You really shared a lot. You're very generous with your sharing.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. So great to talk.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Bye-bye. See you. All right. Okay. Does anybody need a potty break? Get a drink? You ready? Get started. We don't really have that much more except maybe our MVP, our photo. And then I wanted to address a few things of questions people were asking. And of course, I will not ask that of our guest. So Kathy, do you have anything you want to say, or you want to take a break or anything?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. So here we go. Peter, I didn't even know you were here, Peter. What'd he say? There is no way Lucas is shady. Yeah, we know. I hear you, Peter. He called Gowan out for doing something that lacked morality. Yes, even though it was technically legal and private. Yep. I know. You're preaching to the choir here. We know it. So Allie is amazing. And you were right, Peter. You said she was amazing, and she is, and she's a doll of a person. She really was gave all of her time. I always ask that they just stay for 10 minutes, and she's like, I can talk forever, right, Kathy? That's what she was saying in the back. So, yes. Oh, people are giving their MVPs and all the good stuff. Okay, so I wanted to say a few things, because I'm bossy and talkative. Okay, just cut right in, Kathy. People are asking about, is May coming back? And of course, I never like to put our guest on the spot, because there are things that they can't say. They're not allowed to say it. And I don't want to ask them and make them feel uncomfortable. So there are some things I had asked behind the scenes of all my guests. I always do, and Kathy does when we're together, to test what it is we can and cannot say when we get on air. And if we don't answer your questions, I sometimes don't see them, and sometimes I am just overlooking them and not answering it because we can't. And I don't want if we ask that question and then the guest says, well, we really can't say, that kind of is and we don't
want to put them on the spot.
No. And you know what else? It's their job. We don't want to jeopardize their job. Then that makes them say, oh, they're pumping me for information. And we are not pumping for information. We are there to appreciate them and say how much we enjoy what they do, and that they're even taking the time out of their night or their day to spend with us, which is amazing. So don't get offended if I don't ask a question. I just can't. And certain things I can. If I can, I will. Okay. Now, Miss Kathy, did you want to cover anything or go over anything before we do our MVPs and I show the picture?
You mean like thoughts on the episode or?
Anything. Yeah.
I had jotted down a few things as usual.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Lucas and Gustav are fast becoming one of my favorite couples. I just love Gustav's snark, and I really think he's my spirit animal. So I said it and I meant it, and I'm not going to back down on that.
Carl, where are you, Carl? Carl, come on the show. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, and I kind of touched on this earlier with, people are getting a little disgruntled. It's normal for couples to, they argue, they break up, they get back together, and it's even more fun when they get back together. So I'm not at all worried about any of our couples on the show. I love that Lucas finally brought Elizabeth into the loop. That was so nice. And she gave him some good advice. We need to go talk to Lee. The bad news was, as soon as she found out more, she went right to Rosemary, and it's like, where did that come from? Why do you go shoot your mouth after her? Who would have just broken the whole thing wide open if Lee hadn't been there to tell her, shh, don't tell Rosemary stuff. Watching the folks who've been on the show. Oh, yeah. Watching some of the actors on the show just reinforces what good actors they are. And I'm thinking specifically of Walden and Spurlock, because I was so mad, I wanted to slap both of them. And then I have to weave that into the fact that Wes and Paul are such nice, sweet, laid-back guys. Mm-hmm. And the fact that switch goes on and they turn into Spurlock and Walden, I just think that's a testament to their talent. This is random. When Cooper was talking to his dad at the table, he and his sister Angela mm-hmm. and the actress, mm-hmm. They have the same smile. They are both so cute, and Coop's smile was like, oh my gosh, there's Angela's smile. I wish Fiona would just stop, just take a breath, quit trying to help, because every time she reaches out to someone, it just escalates things. And I wish she'd stop or ask Lucas or Henry or Bill, what's going on? What's the full story? What do I not know that I don't know? But again, it's driving story. This episode with, go get little Jack and I'll start dinner. This episode proved that Lucas can do everything except sing. And I love Bill's line, and Rosemary thinks she can act. That was so funny when they were asking him, well, why were you saying all this stuff, Bill? And he's like, because I'm a good actor. That's basically what he was saying. So them's my thoughts.
I like it. I'm very much agreeing. I wanted to talk about Fiona. And did you see, and I could be reading into this, a bit of panic when she started to talk about Arthur? And I was like, oh, at first I'm thinking, is Arthur from her past? But when she had the conversation on the phone, he's somebody new. And then she said, I want him to keep him far away from me. So I'm wondering did he do something that wasn't so nice to her? Like maybe because she's a woman and he's a handsome man, he thought he could smooze her to get his way, because she basically was out there on her own trying to get the investors. And then Henry joined, but apparently Henry blew up, as we heard. So
as Henry is wont to do.
Yeah. I'm waiting for him to come back. So I was thinking about that. And then getting back to when you were mentioning the cuteness of his smile, Coop, he does look, of course, they are brother and sister in real life. I love how cute Natasha is with them. You could tell that they are just so comfortable with each other as actors, that they really are like a family, because they are a family. She even said they adopted me, like Viv and his wife adopted her in, and that's cute. That's nice. And we benefit from that because it overflows into the show. And like I always say, it makes it so authentic for us. But anyway, I'm thinking, and I may have already said this, I always forget what I say when we're in the studio and then when we come out live. I don't know. I'm going to highlight what somebody was saying there. I'm sorry. I'm thinking that, she's visiting her family. And I think I may have said this, but I really think her visiting the family wasn't just a storyline. I think we're going to get more, like just a blip in the story. We're going to get more that's going to come with it. I don't know. Maybe she comes back with some money. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, I think that it may tie into the whole cafe and we can't afford it. And,
Mhm.
Joseph co-signed. But I'm still hoping somewhere down the line they'll do a storyline where she goes off and comes back and, we met a doctor or we found out there's this new technique that could help Angela with her eyesight. And not Fiona, Faith would actually enact it. She'd do whatever's necessary.
Right, right.
But I'd love to see that kind of storyline.
I'm okay with that. But I also like when we don't try to fix everything too. And we get to see that, because in real life, not everybody's sight can be
But we already
restored.
did that with Little House on the Prairie.
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say what you said about Fiona. I think it was kind of maybe a little telling clue when she was on the phone with Mr. Gilchrist. And she's like, Mr. Gilchrist, oh, okay, Arthur. So I'm wondering if there is a little harassment going on there. But
Yes.
once again, if there's harassment or any problem, why not talk to somebody instead of trying to handle it yourself? That's
And I
just
think
annoying.
she's finding herself, and I'm glad we're annoyed. We should be annoyed. So that just makes for great storytelling and great acting. We are annoyed. We're like yelling at the TV. Come on, Fiona, talk to somebody. You've got your girlfriends there. You've got Molly and Faith. That's how it started out in the beginning. So we as viewers, we want to see, but I think because she's taken on so much and she's trying to prove herself. And where's Mike? She talked to Mike about everything. She needs to go talk to him again or talk to Lucas. You know what I mean?
A sudden switch, because she did. She would talk to Mike. He was
Yes.
her sounding board, and she was taking baby steps for the last 2 years or so, and
Mhm.
now all of a sudden it's just I'm just in this on my own, and I'm going to get it done, and it just doesn't seem wise.
Right, right. So again, Gigi was saying, no, Roxanne, I don't notice anything. I'm still irritated with Fiona. And we are feeling irritated for her too, but we don't want to miss those details, as Kathy pointed out. And I forgot about that. And I noticed it too, but I forgot where you said, Kathy, she's like, okay, yes, Arthur. So, I mean, using his common name, his everyday name, that's like a little telling.
Mhm.
And I remember, and close your ears if you don't want spoilers, but I remember seeing a picture that they have out that when they're arriving, he's got her hands, like you do a handshake, but he's not just handshaking, he's holding, because I only got 2 hands here. He's holding her hand. And that's when I first saw it. I was like, oh, is that like an old love interest? But then the way she reacted, it almost was a bit of a panic. Like that, she's like, keep him away from me. You know what I mean? A little more vulnerable side. She's very vulnerable, I think. Very vulnerable this season. So I'm excited to see where that is going. I think I've touched on all of the things that I wanted to touch on. My MVP, my very important person. For me, I mean, it could have been so many people. It could have been Highland. It could have been Lucas. It could have been Bill with his plan. But I have to tell you, for me, it was Nathan. Nathan and Kevin, the actor, because I am sure he was so excited, like Allie was saying, and he looked like he was in his element, and like that twirling of the gun, I was like, oh, I love this. Now, and I love the character of Nathan, and I adore Kevin McGarry. He's a great guy. He's super fun. Like when you see him in the studio, he's funny. He's like an everyday guy, very laid back and funny. But I could just imagine when he realized what he had to do. And I thought he pulled it off. He was great. And he shot the guy in the hand. Okay. So he's my MVP.
He rewound that scene, dozens of times. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
Yes. The McGarrys, those who love him, that like if I loved it, they probably and they do all these different video. I don't know how they capture it. It looks so clear. They somehow were capturing it in slow motion when he's twirling it. And I'm like, look at you. You look so fabulous. And you got the baddie. I love it.
I wish they had shown the scene where he actually had. Did they have handcuffs? Did they use handcuffs back then?
Yeah,
can't
me
remember.
too.
I would have loved to have seen him try to handcuff Spurlock, because that guy, by the time you get his arms around to the back, he's massive. I couldn't even imagine how you handcuff him.
Yeah.
I'm with you. There were so many good parts and good characters and actors. I'm just going to go with Highland, just for the belly flop onto Lucas. I've done that to my grandmother. I was telling you, but I was a bit older and a bit heavier, and she was not such a good sport about it. But he is just so adorable. Everything he does, even when he was either ad-libbed or the director told him to sing "and many more,"
Yeah.
and you can tell that Chris and Aaron get a kick out of him, because sometimes they're doing that laughter and it just looks like it's real. That's not Lucas and Elizabeth alone. That's the actors too. And I just think he's a real little showman. And he probably enjoyed doing that belly flop, and I bet it hurt a little bit. It probably stung, but Chris was a good sport about it.
I'm sure Chris had something on him to protect him. I don't know, but he laughed fast. Like if you were asleep and he woke up, he laughed like as acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. They have such great chemistry together. I love it. Some people harassment probably wasn't. I'm just catching these things. Harassment probably wasn't talked about in that era, even with Friends. You're correct, and I agree. I totally agree with that. Look at this. I think it's Fiona's grandfather who owns the newspaper in her rich background that she has alluded to. Could be.
Could
And
be.
he
That
works
has to be
for the
correct.
grandfather. It could be. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people, of course, are choosing Lucas for their MVP, and we get that. We understand. You know what? I just realized this. Every time we come on, we've never even thought about poor Elizabeth being the MVP.
Oh, that's because she's so good at what she does.
I
She
know.
just kind of,
Know.
we take her for granted.
Yeah. What's this? Still feel that Nathan was gory change this season. Could have given him a better storyline. Margaret,
Sure.
Margaret, listen, Margaret. That's okay, because those are your feelings and your opinion, and we're okay with that. All right. And especially if you're a Nathan fan lover, I thought I loved it. And Kathy, I've talked about I'm a champion of the character, Nathan. And I felt like my theory in my mind with him, and because of things that have been said, he had to take on Allie when she was young. He was young. He has that whole history with his dad. He's always had a lot of responsibility thrust upon him. And I feel like he didn't have time to grow emotionally for himself. He had to be a dad right away. He had to be a provider right away. Then he's a lawman. He's always taking care of everybody else but him. And he was socially and romantically a lot immature, especially when, and I always bring this up, when he didn't, win her heart and she said, I can't do this. He didn't show up for his conference with Allie, or every time she tried to talk to him about Allie, how his reaction was. So I'm glad that they kind of broke him down and he built himself back up this season. And I think it's just going to get better and better. I think we're going to see him even more and more mature and growing. And I don't know, I just love, maybe he and May are not for each other, but it allowed us to see that softer side of him and confident with a female and finally sharing who he is. You know what I mean? I love when Elizabeth said to him, like the town cares about you, almost like she wished he had said something to her, and he was thinking to himself, why? I don't have to share everything with you, right? I can choose who I share it with. And as a man who was in love with someone or thought he was in love with someone, I don't know that I want to share anything with you, even though I'm not a man. But you know what I mean? You're my friend. I'm going to work it out. I like you, but I'm not going to share anything with you. Instead, I'm choosing somebody.
At least not at this point.
Yeah.
He's not ready for that yet.
I don't know. I like the direction he's going in.
Yeah.
I
like the humor and the snark.
He's best at that. That's kind of a little bit like him, you know what I mean? But he's gentle in his snark, though. Yeah. I know someone who exhibits that immaturity due to early responsibility. Me too. I know that too. It's like living a childhood he never had, but not to that extent, though. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. What's this? What do you think is going on between Nathan and Faith? Friends, I think they're friends, but scenes like yesterday make me wonder. We've always been wondering about those. Yeah. Yeah, we've always been wondering about that. I don't know.
I'm not sure they're doing romance with them. I think it'd be great if they were besties, um, and can, turn to each other. They kind of alluded to that in the last episode of last season, where they were just kind of commiserating with each other while she was bandaging up his hand. I think they get each other. I think they're coming from a very similar place in their lives in terms of, their relationships. And I would love to see them just continue to be good friends.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, they're first responders. It'll thrust them and put them in. But do we have to pair up everybody? Do you know? And I just because they're, like Mike. I love how Mike goes to talk to Faith because he respects what her decisions are, and then he's like, "Walk with me to church." And again, Mike, I always say this is relatable. He relates more to females because he was raised by a whole bunch of females. So I get all that. I love how they tie in all those little details. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay if we don't see this big, huge romance right away. We don't always have to see a huge romance. Of course, we saw a huge romance from the beginning with Jack and Elizabeth because that's how the story was written.
But even that was a slow burn. They didn't just get together, halfway through the first season.
Yeah, I know. Gloria's saying, Julie was writing to Gloria saying, I hope only friends. Faith is growing as a single lady, focused on her practice. Nathan still needs to grow too. And I agree. And you know what we need to see? I hope we see a little bit more of Nathan with Allie. I love those two actors together. I love the chemistry they have with each other. I'm waiting, for more of that. And eventually a romance. I don't want them to rush, but you know what? I'm not the writers. Lisa was saying, and this is true, Fiona had a rich fiance. It's true. And I think it's all connected with the newspaper man. Maybe her fiance's family or her grandfather. Maybe. We'll see. I have no idea. We'll see where that's going, but something's going to go down. Okay. So we hint at Florence? That Faith, yes, she did. She didn't hint, she said it. She said that Faith, she noticed, has a little bit of a thing for Nathan, and she herself, and that's the nod too. People are like, what about how they feel for each other, Bill and Molly? Molly has said it on more than one occasion that she does have something like a crush or a torch for Bill. But life is busy for them.
They've pulled back on several of the relationships they were hinting at last season, I've noticed. And I'm sure they have a good reason for it, but I did notice they've pulled back on some of those.
They're still hinting though. They're still hinting at it. They let us know it's not, gone. Something else, it was in my mind and then it went back out. About Bill being sick. What if, and I'm just projecting here, there's that last episode that's rock, a bye, baby. And if you notice, and I'm wondering, there's a couple of things I'm wondering here. So next episode, they hinted at, there's actually two. I don't know if one comes from Canada and then one is from the United States, where we see the part where she's at the doctor, at Faith's, and they're all like, oh, and I got something to tell you, and she's got tears in her eyes. But then there's another scene where she's sitting on the couch in the office and she's sick to her stomach and she's got to go to the doctor. And that's when later on she says, I don't have a fever. So the whole morning sickness thing makes you think like she gets some shocking news. Mm-hmm. So we all are leaning towards her being pregnant, and it is something that we wanted. But then all the way at the end in episode 12, there's this mention about Lee. It says Lee and Rosemary, something about get a sign or something, or I forget how it was worded. It's someone here can correct me because they know they posted it. It made it almost sound like, or get some kind of news together. Like, I doubt that they would make her pregnant and then make something terrible happen. Like, I'm thinking, is it twins? But then I can't think that it's twins because then they would need double, like, actors, do you know what I mean, for the next season? Like, you need 2 sets of twins. That's hard. So I'm wondering if there's something, is it about the business? Is it because she's going to be a mother? How's she going to? I don't know. There's something else. There's still
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
I don't have a clue.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't have a clue.
And then there's the thing about Bill being sick. So with my students, I have to teach about westward expansion. And one of the things that happened often is people followed the Oregon Trail because they wanted a better life for their children's health. Out in the valley, out that way, like in Oregon, and then, Wyoming and that area. Air was different, like the breathing, especially if you had like a lung type of issue. I'm wondering if we'll find out that he should take a break and he goes and visits in Montana out that way. What if he goes and visits Clara and Jesse for a bit? I'm not saying he's off the show. Nobody. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe, I don't know. I don't know where that's going. Do you?
Nope. All I know is it's connected to the X-ray machine.
Right. Which, we know she wants and whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, they're all jumping on him being immature in his approach to Elizabeth. Kind of. What about a miscarriage? I don't know if they'll do that.
I don't think they're going there.
No, I don't think they're going there. Okay. All right. Let up talking mystery writing. Okay. So here we go. I keep wondering about TB or pneumonia. Yep. Janice, that's the nurse in you, Janice.
Tuberculosis.
Yes. Okay. So, not yet. No one put it in yet when I count. So this was the picture right there. And that was the mystery picture. So go right ahead. Let's see who knows what it was. Anyone? And the winner from last week, I didn't go to the post office. Is from Canada, so I actually have to go and mail it. All right. Who is it? Rhonda who got it?
Rhonda got it.
Yeah. Rhonda, it looks like you have it. And that's right. It is Spurlock's glove. And I have to tell you what's hilarious to me is I chose that before I knew that he got his hand shot. Somebody said it before the podcast even started. That's okay. I'm sorry. You have to wait until I announce it. I'm not going to look for it. That's the teacher in me. I'm not being mean. I'm just saying I can't go back. You don't know what it's like to fish through here trying to find things. All right, Rhonda. Okay. Is it Rhonda? No, Rona. I'm saying Rhonda. I apologize. I didn't see the writing. It's Rona. Rona. I'm sorry. I said your name wrong like 14 times. Rona Garcia. Is that Glavey? I have you right down. You have to send me an email so I know how to get in touch with you and send it to you. And people are all excited about the morning sickness and all that. Okay. This was a very long recap, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. I actually wrote down okay. Okay. All right.
I don't know if it matters. I just.
You did? Okay. Well, then I'll do it too. So my boss here is bossing me like she should. And she said she noticed it and already wrote the person's name down. So in the future, we're going to announce and then you put it in because it's like a race. Voice, you have good taste, Jacqueline from Canada is saying. Okay. So who was it that you saw it? You know who it was all the way before?
Kathy Briggs.
Kathy Briggs. With a K or a C?
With a K. That's the only right way to spell it. Come on.
Briggs. Okay. Kathy Briggs and Rona. You are the winners of the mystery photo. And you have to email me so I know where to send it. Okay. I had somebody win something in another one and they live in France. I'm like,
ooh.
Yeah, you have to give me, I'll ship it. It's fine. But you have to give me the full address so I know when I get to the post office what to do.
Roxanne, I'm here for you. If you need someone to just ferry it over, I can do that.
Okay. All right, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. Everyone's saying thank you. Worth every minute. It was a great recap. Worth every minute. That's nice. Thank you. Lori, but I loved it. Lots of good info. Good. Thank you, ladies. Always enjoy your chats. I love that I got a second night for talking about When Calls the Heart. And I love that you chat with each other inside. Oh, Rona, you're in Yonkers, New York. You're not far from me. Come visit. Come visit in the summertime. Let me say this. Let me say two things as you're all saying goodnight, because there's some people that are leaving. Two things. One, where I don't want to wish for the end, and I put it at the top, but I'm going to have a Hearties pajama party on Sunday, June the 5th, and admins are going to join, and we're going to, recap our favorite things, and we're going to have a really good time. And then and I have little special things that are going to go on too. And then also in the summertime, in my town where I live is a beautiful old, I don't know if it's on the cusp of being Victorian home. And it's gorgeous, and it's called Grace Wings, and they have a tea house, and we have the whole house to ourselves. And I host a Hearties Christmas in July party, and you are my guest. And I always put it out there, and then people write to me and tell me they want to come. It's sort of like a mini reunion. Now, unless you want to get on a plane, Miss Kathy, and come stay at my house and come visit, you can. I think it's too far of a drive for you. But anybody that's in the area, you are welcome to join. Yeah. They're giving us thank yous. All right. Good night, everyone.
It's going to be even more exciting if possible. So I look forward to seeing everybody then.
Yes. All right. Ending the broadcast. I know